All right. All right. Would you acknowledge yourself for showing up today, please? Would you just kind of give it up to you? In the Course in Miracles, the main thing to remember is that you don't have to believe it. Some of it's going to be hard to believe. Some of it's going to stall you. If it's really truly new, it's going to be something different from what you've heard before. So try to keep in mind that new means different, so that when you hear this and you don't try to force yourself to believe it, you'll let yourself hear it faster and let it go in quicker. Because the purpose of this class is really to change our perception of everything so that we can have peace of mind. And the principle is that if we have peace of mind, we can hear the voice of our own inner spirit, Holy Spirit, our own guidance. So the purpose of the Course in Miracles is to put you in the hands of your own personal spiritual guidance. It's all about you learning how to listen to your higher self, realize that almost everything we do, if not everything we do, is based on our past experience, our past learning, and what we've gone through, and on a thought system that's based on the idea that we're separate, and sometimes it can look like we're the victim of things that happen outside of us. Broken into by periods in which it looks like we have a good time. Okay, so we understand that we know how to do humanness, we know how to be in bodies, we know how to see ourselves as separate. We also know how to blame others for what we're going through. We also know how to look at it as if it's our past or something outside of ourselves that's creating our reality. This class is based on exactly the opposite of every one of those ideas. The Course in Miracles is based on the idea that we are all one, that we're all innocent, there's no such thing as sin and guilt, we make mistakes for correction. It's based on the premise that the universe is love, God is love, that which created us is love, that we are unlimited beings that create our reality through our perception of things, and that we're entitled to miracles because of who we are. We're eternal beings who think we're bodies, we've lost sight of who we really are, and so now we're trying to make it. Okay, so we come here to remember. We come here to remember the truth and remember who we really are. It's not even important that you even remember everything that I say today. You're here because your Holy Spirit, your higher self, has a message that it wants to give to you. And maybe something that you hear today through me might be that message, and it may seem to have absolutely nothing to do with what I'm talking about today. It may be a sentence that somebody else say. It may be a comment that someone else makes. And it could be exactly what you need right now, because there is no situation that we're going through in our life right now that there is not an answer. We're not that creative and we're not that original. There is no such thing as an original problem. There's no such thing as an original problem. You know, it really isn't. It takes different forms, but it's the same problem. So how many of you would like to have healing in some area of your life right now? You know you'd like to see it different, and you know you like it to be different. Anybody? You sure about that? Okay, now, do you have that particular area clear in mind right now?
Yeah.
Okay, you know that area.
Yeah.
Now, if you're thinking something and you have no emotional charge, I would advise you to come up with a different area. To come up with a different thing, because you're just jabbing. That's not the real issue. It's got to be the one that you forget anything about spirituality or anything about love. When you feel all that stuff come up, it's the area you're not giving yourself peace about. Look around the room. Everybody in this room, they are exactly like you. They're completely making choices that either bring them peace or conflict, truth or illusion, fear or love. They're either seeing themselves victims of circumstance in some situations, or they're seeing themselves as being very powerful in some situations. We're exactly the same. So here we go. If we want to have healing, this is the first thing to remember. If you got the course books, on page 17 in the Manual for Teachers, the Course in Miracles uses Christian terminology to describe universal spiritual themes. So even though it uses Christian terminology, it's using metaphysical spiritual principles. So the definitions that it gives for the words are sometimes very different from the ones you've learned in traditional Christianity or spirituality. So what I'm going to do is start this out by asking, how is healing accomplished? So I'd like each one of you to take a second and ask yourself basically this question: how can I have this situation in my life cleared up in such a way that I only feel peace? How can I have the situation in my life cleared up in such a way that that I only experience peace in ways I cannot even imagine? It's very important for you to add in ways you cannot even imagine, because one of the most important things that the Course says that's necessary for healing is for you to realize if you really want the healing to happen, you can't do it. So rule number one, a real healing is not what a person can do who thinks they're separate from God, separate from Source, and separate from everybody in the room. So if you happen to think that way, then what you want to do is you want to always open up the possibility that an intelligence greater than your intelligence can intervene in any situation in your life and allow a healing to happen. Do not suffer from adult disease, which is I'm autonomous, self-sufficient, and I've got to come up with all the answers on my own. That's the adult disease. It slows down everything. The other one the Course says is to tell yourself what I know may not be all there is to know. Is that true?
Yes.
Are you willing to admit you might not know everything?
Yes.
I'm willing to admit I don't know everything. Are you willing to? Or would you be willing to admit that where you really don't know is where you're in conflict?
Yes.
The area that you see as the problem area, let's go, that's the area I really don't know what's going on. And it's okay to say, I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know. So the first thing it says, and how is healing accomplished, is it says healing involves an understanding of what the illusion of the sickness or the problem is for. Healing is impossible without you understanding what you're going through it for. So you want to ask yourself, what am I going through this for? What is the purpose of this? What am I going through this for? I got my area. If you have your area, you might want to do it right now. What am I going through this? What am I going through this for? What is the purpose of it? Because the healing cannot occur unless you understand what the illusion of sickness is for, the problem is for. I'll give you a hint. The reason why you have the problem according to the Course is because while you're focused on the problem, you forget who you truly are as a spiritual being. While you're focusing on the problem, you forget you are only love and that you're connected to everything. The purpose of the problem is to hide the truth of who you are and the power of who you are from yourself. Because while you're caught up in that issue, you're usually forgetting that you're the one who's the powerful being in this situation and you're not alone in this situation. So if you want the healing accomplished in the situation that you're in, the healing happens the instant the sufferer no longer sees any value in pain. So you could tell yourself, the reason why this situation hasn't cleared up in my life is because I see some value in the pain and conflict that I'm going through in it. The reason why this situation or problem is not cleared up in my life is because I see some value in it. I see some value in this pain. I see some value in this fear. I see some value in this suffering. Don't try to figure out what the value is that you see in it. The healing is accomplished the instant you no longer see any value in it. It didn't ask you to analyze what was causing your suffering. It said the instant you no longer see any value in being broke, as soon as you see no longer see any value in sickness, it's when you see no value in relationships that bring you no joy. When you see no value in not having something you're doing every day that gives you a sense of purpose. When you see no value in depression. When you see no value in anger. When you see no value in it, then the healing is accomplished. So it isn't so much why am I doing this, but am I going to still see any value in me going through crap all the time? Am I going to still see any value in me being lonely? Am I going to still see any value in me not being happy? Am I going to still see any value in me not experiencing my life the way that it was meant to be? That's the question to be answered. Not, let me analyze the thing that I am using to make myself suffer. Let's analyze the thing I'm using. Let's analyze my mate. Let's analyze my financial situation. That's the trick. What you want to do is say, I no longer see any value in going through this. So say that to yourself right now. I no longer see any value in pain. I no longer see any value in the pain of this situation. I no longer see any value in the fear of this situation. I no longer see any value in seeing myself as separate from each and every one of you. I no longer see any value in projecting on you that the reason why I'm unhappy is because of anything that you are doing. I no longer see any value in holding you responsible for my happiness. I no longer see any value in guilt. I no longer see any value in the belief in sin. I no longer see any value in it. That's how the healing is accomplished. And the Course in Miracles defines a healing as the undoing of fear.